I'll be honest, I am absolutely exhausted. I decided to take just a night off, like sleep on it, and then have this morning off as well to kind of digest what's happened. But we didn't just drop points last night. We witnessed a performance that was absolutely spineless and quite honestly, indefensible. Arsenal have just made history for all the wrong reasons. At the beginning of the season, we were talking about matches where we weren't conceding goals, matches where we weren't conceding shots on target, matches where we weren't even conceding shots. This is the first time in Premier League history that a team has started the day at the top of the table, has let a 2-goal lead slip against the team at the bottom of the league table with just 9 points. And I'm sure a lot of you felt just like me, a bad feeling about that match. Even Thierry Henry said it before the match. We've been labelled bottlers by rival fans for a long, long time now, and that never really felt that justified. More of a label just to kind of wind us up. But now, I've got to be honest, there is a mentality issue at this club. Hi guys, welcome back to Forward on Football. Let's get into it, because in the preview to the game, I said that we needed to get out of the traps quickly and needed to be positive in the way we play. All too often, we've seen a lethargic performance for the first 45 minutes. And to be fair, last night, it seemed like Arteta actually listened to fans' fears, listened to our comments. He played Bukayo Saka as a 10 in a central role, and it paid off within the first 5 minutes. Saka ghosted between defenders to head home a perfect Declan Rice cross, ending a 15-game drought. Let that sink in. His longest running ever for the club. And at that point, it felt like, okay, routine. Like, we're completely in control. I think at one point we had about 84, 85% of the possession. But that was part of the problem. We weren't going through the motions. We were just lackadaisical, complacent, doing the bare minimum because Wolves were so poor and we felt like we could do that. But I can't begin to explain what started to unfold. Then came the second goal, to be fair. Pierre Hincapié fires home a beautiful strike in the 55th minute. It's first for the club. And at 2-0, you think the job was done. But I put out a tweet. I said, game management, kill the match, see it out. And you could feel the crowd getting behind Wolves. There were a couple of incidents. I think it started with a Saliba incident that seemed to rile the crowd up, and then a player had gone down and we played on. And I just thought, just kick the ball out. Just let it settle, because as we continued to play with a man down, the crowd were really going against us. And you could just hear it through the screen. You knew what was happening. There were times in the past, I remember a Liverpool game where we were kind of accused of letting the Anfield crowd get behind them. And this is where the handbrake football kicks in yet again. In fact, I'm going to call it quicksand football, because it makes us sink lower and lower as time goes by. And our 2-goal lead lasted exactly 5 minutes. 5 minutes before Hugo Bueno swept an absolute, it was a banger. It was a screamer into the top corner. And from that moment, composure evaporated. Pure head loss. We were just, I don't know. We were walking off the edge of the cliff. And then the calamity. The equaliser in the 95th minute. Capitulation, calamity, whichever one you want to go with. Simple cross, total miscommunication between Raya and Gabriel. And our 2 senior defensive leaders, the 2 players that usually are the kind of the pivotal members of our squad, the 2 that we can always rely on. And the ball drops loose for a 19-year-old, a debutant who scores on his debut last minute at 2-0 up. And I hate to say it, but have we bottled it? To be leading against the worst team in the league and fail to manage the game is, it's an offence. It's deplorable. We're the architects of our own downfall, conceding through a lack of application yet again, or from low XG shots week after week after week. And I know Alex on the Different Knock said, why is this happening constantly? I can tell you why it's happening constantly. Because teams are getting confidence watching other teams do this to us. We're not closing down. We're not pressing like we're usually doing. We're allowing teams to come onto us. The first time we played Sunderland this year, I went on the instant reaction on what was the Cannon podcast at the time, or TDK Plus right now, and I talked to George about it, and we had sat off. We were asking to have an equaliser against us. In the end, in that game, we were asking for a loss. It's as if Arteta is instructing the players out of a fear of failure rather than a desire to win. And it's something that you see with children, In coaching, I've often said, let the shackles off, play with confidence. Don't play with a fear of failure. Because if you do that, that's most likely what you're going to get. And if you think I'm being emotional, you're right. But let's look at the numbers because they are absolutely damning. Arsenal have 58 points after 27 games, the lowest tally of a league leader at this stage since Leicester in the 2015-2016 season. We've dropped 7 points now from winning positions in 2026, among the worst in the league. And this draw ended an 18-game away winning run when leading by 2 goals. And we might have won the XG battle, and I think it was about 1.5 to 0.3. Yeah, it was a draw. We've conceded 7 goals from chances under 0.05. Not 0.5, 0.05 XG this season, more than anyone else. And despite 71 final third entries, our usage of zone 14 is atrocious. And in the second half, bottom of the table Wolves completed more passes than us and had more possession. However you cut it, if you're someone that relies on figures or someone that relies on what they see, 2026 so far has been an absolute disaster. And we have to talk about the style. Like, Arteta seems obsessed with what James B from the Gooniverse calls percentage football. Okay, so if you want to get your head around that, data-driven control, limiting the opposition with XG, managing risk. And I understand that a betting man would consider this the most logical way to address like a full season. But right now, Arteta is losing the fan base because of it. And it wasn't long ago that he said, in the next 4 months, we're going to live and play with enjoyment, with a lot of courage, and with the conviction that we're going to win it. This is going to be the mindset and where we're going to put the energy. Where's that? Where's that energy? Jump on the boat, he said. It feels like Saka has signed himself to a sinking ship. What a way to absolutely undercut that monumental contract. That's what we should be talking about right now. Why are we playing with a handbrake on at 2-0? Why are we scared to go for a third? We've got Martinelli, Trossard, Jesus, Saka, pace everywhere, yet we cannot play in transition. If you can't manage lead against Wolves, who on earth can you manage it against? And then there's the individuals. David Raya, erratic again. For the first goal, he is completely in no man's land. And then for the second, he's climbing all over one of our centre-backs. Jurrien Timber, I talked about it on the preview. I said about the amount of minutes he has played since he had his ACL, the fact that he's been unable to make simple passes, and yet we don't bring Ben White on. It doesn't matter if Timber is limping, if Timber is exhausted, Ben White is not coming on. Zubimendi, safe football, hiding, sideways passes. We bought him to dictate. We bought him to control these type of games. And again, I said it in the preview, he has adapted to the league. He has not adapted to the schedule. He needs a rest. We have a 6'2" former Premier League captain in Norgard, and yet we refuse to use him. Martinelli, second half, completely unacceptable. Not even jogging to close down the ball, let alone a sprint. And then I've seen people get on at Gyökeres. Yes, a dreadful performance. But let's remember that Gabriel Jesus is a complete non-factor at this point. This is the type of game where really we need a profile like Jesus if we're playing this type of game, because it is not the game for Gyökeres. And we don't have a reference point up front with a Havertz beating the press and playing over the press, or even a Marino to do that. But Gabriel Jesus comes on. He's delaying shots. He's just showing a lack of threat. He showed more fight at the end of the game when the final whistle had blown, rather than the entire of his appearance. Dreadful. And Arteta has got to take accountability for this. He talks about standards slipping, but he is platforming these players in a way that they're going out on the field and performing this way. His in-game management, again, was atrocious. He's waiting 20 minutes into the second half to make changes. Well, we're clearly unable to get a win. We are clearly just walking towards the edge of a cliff. And if he doesn't win something significant this season, he is going to, unfortunately, have a whole fan base turning against him. And his career at Arsenal, his legacy at this club, will be of a man that got us close. That is all. He's had a lot of naysayers say he won the FA Cup without his squad. Now he's finally got his squad after a lot of money being spent. What's he done with it? 4 years of this and nothing to show for it. And that's the looming reality. Our attackers look like they've gone backwards. We talk about having the handbrake on. They look like they're in reverse. And yet again, I cannot believe I sit on this channel every week with Wackles and I talk about chemistry and I talk about balance up top. And we start with a front three of pure runners in Martinelli, Gyökeres and Madueke, which puts the creative burden on Saka playing in a new position. There's no balance. And yet again, we finish with Trossard, Jesus and Martinelli. 3 players that have all at times been surplus to requirements. At the beginning of the season, we talked about which one do we let go. We talked about, is it Jesus' last ever game for the club prior to Christmas? And here we are playing all 3 together. And this result is a harrowing blow. We may still be 5 points clear, but now Man City have the title in their own hands if they win their game in hand. We're letting them back in through our own indifference. And if we play like this in the North London derby, Spurs, another team battling for survival, will be rubbing their hands together. The next 2 months will define the careers of these players at Arsenal. They have got to stand up now. They have got to step up to the plate because as of right now, they are looking spineless. They are looking like bottlers. And Arteta said after this game, when you have a moment of difficulty and feel really frustrated with yourselves, you have to have the perfect game. Spurs away. Go and show how much you want it. Talk on the pitch. And they better do that. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is it the players? Is Arteta to blame for the lack of urgency? Is this the moment where Arsenal bottled the league? Like, subscribe. I'll see you all for the North London derby preview. You know football. I just talk it. Fall out.